of Pakistan, the two regional assemblies of Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir, the chairman of the CPA Executive Committee, the Secretary General of the CPA headquarters, senators, members of the National Assembly, provincial and regional legislators, members of academia, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. When parliaments meet, voices of the people are heard. This is the essence of democracy. When representatives of the different regions of the world meet, they carve the foundation for peace and development for all. And this is the beauty of democracy. It is now my honor to invite the host and the president of the conference, Honorable Syed Awais Qadir Shah, the Honorable Speaker of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, to deliver his welcome remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Speaker of National Assembly of Pakistan, Excellency Sardar Ayaz Sadiq. Honorable Deputy Speaker of Republic of Maldives, Excellency Ahmad Nazim. Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Sri Lanka, Excellency Dr. Rizvi Saleh. Honorable Chairperson of Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's Executive Committee, Excellency Dr. Christopher Kalila. Honorable Speakers of the Provincial and State Assemblies of Pakistan and Malaysia. Excellencies from Diplomatic Corps. Minister for Information and Mass Transit, Province of Sindh, who is also the Senior Minister of the Cabinet, Excellency Mr. Shirjeel Inam Memon, Excellency Mr. Stephen Twiggs, Secretary General of the CPA, distinguished delegates from CPA fraternity, parliamentarians, legislators, excellencies, guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning to all of you. It is my profound pleasure to welcome you all at the inaugural ceremony of 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference and 2nd Joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference 2026 in this vibrant city of Karachi. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Speaker of Provincial Assembly of Sindh, I take a distinct pride to note that in the history of CPA, it is for the second time that Provincial Assembly of Sindh has been bestowed the honor of hosting this vital parliamentary meet of our region. Our last gathering in Karachi was in 2012. However, it is for the first time that any conference, national or international, is being held inside the Sindh Assembly chambers. The lands of Sindh have welcomed travelers, traders, and tourists with open arms since time immemorial. The waters of mighty Indus have not only brought fertility to our people, but also connectivity with others, and hence the ruins of Montadoro and Makli narrates the story of majestic civilization, of culture, commerce, and peaceful coexistence. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the land of Sufis and saints, and the land of mystics and men of wisdom. It is the land of Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. It is the land of world's youngest and Muslim world's first woman Prime Minister, Shaheed Mohtarma Binti Bhutto. Hence, with great sense of history, I welcome all our delegates who have travelled from near and far, wish them a comfortable stay and safe return with cherished memories. Ladies and gentlemen, we assemble at the time when the world around us passes through yet another phase of turmoil. A world confronted with critical challenges of conflict, socio-economic exploitation, cultural onslaught, hunger and disease. A world brimming with climate chaos, rising temperatures, devastating floods and droughts. And a world where fast-changing technology spoils new set of challenges to human security in the face of artificial intelligence and social media onslaught. Since our last conference in Lahore, February 2025, our own region and its surroundings witnessed disturbing developments. In May last year, my country Pakistan was subjected to naked and militant aggression. This cowardly act was not only braved with courage by a united Pakistani nation, but the enemy was also made to retreat with a bleeding nose by our gallant armed forces with a precise, proportionate, and restrained response, rightly named Binyan al-Maksus. The continued destability in Afghanistan and the corresponding perpetuation of terrorist elements there, and the deplorable situation in Gaza. Overall crisis in Middle East, especially Iran and wars in Ukraine, Venezuela and Africa, have posed innumerable threats to the peace and sustainable development all over the world with serious impacts on our region. The rise of populism and demagoguery have been thinning. Narrow self-interest and unilateralism, the space for multilateralism is fast shrinking. Democratic principles of pragmatism, accommodation, and respect to reason are fast fading. Let us not forget that the world must not become the chessboard of the privileged few. It must adhere to needs and agony of the countless facing destitution, depression, and destruction. Ladies and gentlemen, my great leader Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto once said, and I quote, "A more stable world depends on the ability to use force as a last resort when unavoidable, but seek political solutions at the first available possible." He taught us that democracies do not fight each other, they fight the problem together. It is unfortunate that claimants of the world's largest democracy are less inclined to address the burning issues of poverty, hunger, and disease, and resolving long-standing unresolved issue of Kashmir, but more interested in pointing fingers and harboring hatred. This stalemate is harming the progress and prosperity of entire South Asia. South Asia, which is home of over 2 billion people, almost 1/4 of the total humanity, Of these, 350 million live in abject poverty, 30% of the total poor of the globe, while almost half of the world's illiterate come from our lands. These are the very wars we have fought collectively, since it's my firm belief that as people's chosen representatives, we cannot remain oblivious to the distressing plight of our people. We must collectively show greater emotional endurance, a less rigid ego, and a deeper aversion of war. We must realize the cost of conflicts, not in numbers, but in blood, tears, and in empty cradles. And in doing so, our best attributes should be our ability to dialogue, our determination to continue discussion despite discord, and our duty to develop consensus. Let us not forget that our respective parliaments can only remain relevant for the future generation if we redefine democracy today through trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. This calls for creating greater understanding and sharing common best practices. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association provides the 180 parliaments and legislatures of 156 independent missions across CPA's 9 regions world over, a unique opportunity to fulfill our prime responsibility: keep the dialogue alive for common peace and shared development. This is even more vital for the CPA Asia region, as our forum is the only available regional parliamentary platform for meaningful collaboration since the abeyance of SARC. In this regard, I note with great satisfaction that after years of lapse in lay discipline in holding annual conferences of CPA Asia region is finally achievable, as our present conference is being held within a year of our last meeting in Lahore. The praiseworthy step initiated in the last conference to enlarge this forum and include the legislatures of Southeast Asia has been duly followed in our conference. Such joint interaction of CPA regions are vital for creating broader understanding and cooperation. I hope that with the able support of the Secretary General of CPA, we will be able to include more regional representations in our future meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, in the coming 3 days, we will all be discussing pressing issues of making parliaments stronger for effective accountability of the executives, the challenges to our environment and climatical disorders, the rise of artificial intelligence and corresponding fake news, inculcating democratic values in everyday lives through parliamentary education, and ensuring safer society for a woman by protecting them from online violence. These are the key challenges to our respective societies, our democratic institutions, and social fabric. We must learn from each other to reach common and consensus solution. Ladies and gentlemen, noted, Italian philosopher Dante once said, and I quote, "Hottest place in the hell is reserved for those who ought to stay quiet in an hour of crisis." It is our moral and parliamentary duty to speak with clear conscience and act in coherence as our societies passes through global crises one after the other. We must act together in confidence and in mutual trust. I am reminded of the noted Sindhi poet Hazrat Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai, whose wisdoms taught us, "Sain sadai kare mathe sindh sukar, dost mitha dildar, alam sab abad kar." Translation is, "My Lord, keep Sindh surplus and prosperous at all time. My dear friend, pray extended your benevolence to the entire world." In conclusion, while I once again thank you, and I would like to do it in my national language, Khush Amdeed, and in my mother tongue, Bhalli Kare Aaya, I thank you once again. Thank you everyone. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, and also the President of the Conference, for your welcome remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the values upheld and the laws made in parliaments of this nature have impact close to home, in places so small that they cannot be shown on any map of the world. Yet they are the world of common man, the home he lives in, the neighbourhood he grows in, the school or office he attends, and that is where real impact begins. The Provincial Assembly of Sindh holds the singular distinction of being the birthplace of the independent dominion of Pakistan. It was within the historic chambers of the Sindh Assembly that the transfer of power from the British Crown to the people of this land was formally realised, an enduring milestone in our democratic journey. The Sindh Assembly carries a rich and principled legacy of service to democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. Ladies and gentlemen, we have captured that in a short documentary that we'd like to now present at the inauguration ceremony of the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference and the 2nd Joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference 2026.
In 1897, Sindh was absorbed into the Mongol presidency, diluting its political voice and island. Even constitutional reforms, the War of Independence of 1857, Sindh remained marginalized under the colonial rule, strengthening its resolve for self-governance. From the late 19th century onward, Latin races, Hindus, Muslims, and other communities demanded a separate identity for Sindh's language, culture, and politics. The All India Muslim League supported separation in 1925. In 1929, Quaid included the demand in his historic 40 points. At the Round Table Conference in London, Quaid, Sir Bhutto, and Khan Bahadur Mohammad Ayub Kolo argued that Sindh's distinct language, economy, and heritage justified its own province and assembly. Their efforts bore fruit under the Government of India Act 1935, and on 1st April 1936, Sindh emerged as a separate province after nearly 19 years. With provincial status secured, Sindh moved to elect its first legislative assembly in February 1937. Under the Government of India Act 1935, the 60-member assembly represented Muslims, general constituencies, landholders, farmers, labour, and women, reflecting Sindh's diversity. The assembly met for the first time on 27 April 1937 in the hall of Sindh Chief Court, Karachi, where 57 members took oath. The session was presided over by Diwan Bahadur Nirmal. Diwan Bahadur Bodh Singh Paljani was elected the first speaker, with Khan Bahadur Allah Bakshu Bodh as a deputy speaker. Between 1937 and 1945, the assembly held 22 sessions over 259 states, passing more than 150 bills, establishing Sindh's first modern forum for governance, education, irrigation, local government, and public order. Initially meeting in the Sindh Chief Court, Engineering School, and other halls, the assembly sought a permanent home. In 1938, Speaker Bodh Singh chambered a purpose-built building. On 11 March 1940, Governor Sir Lansford Graham laid the foundation stone. Within 2 years, the sandstone structure was completed and inaugurated on 4th March 1942. The Governor Sir Hugh designed in shape of the letter E with a central dome, white verandas, and horseshoe-shaped chamber. It symbolized democratic debate, originally accommodating 82 members, 213 visitors, and 44 press representatives. The complex later expanded, yet the old chambers remained its symbolic heart. As the Second World War unfolded, the Assembly moved towards history-shaping choices. Following the Lahore Resolution of March 1940, a resolution moved by G.M. Sayyid was debated on 3rd March 1943, declaring Muslims a separate nation and supporting independent Muslim states.
From the start of the Resolution of 1943 to the evolving challenges of modern governance, this House has served as a platform for dialogue, legislation, and public accountability.
The motion passed by 24 votes to 3. Among those voting aye were Sheikh Abdul Majid, Allah Bakshu Bodh, Sir Ghulam Hussain Hidayatullah, Haji Muhammad Hashim Barzar, M. A. Kulu, P. Ilahi Baksh, and Mrs. Jinbai Alana. Sindh became the first provincial legislature in British India to formally endorse the demand for Pakistan. On 26 June 1947, following 3-2 partition plan, the Assembly voted 33 to 20 to join the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. Sindh had chosen Pakistan twice, once for the dream and once for its reality. From 1947 to 1956, this building served as Pakistan's first national parliament. The Constituent Assembly met here on 10th August 1947 with David outnumbered as a temporary chairman. On 11th August, Quaid was elected president. On 14th August, Lord Mountbatten formally transferred power here.
आप लोग इस पूर्ण पाकिस्तान में अपनी अपनी इबादतों, मस्जिदों या मंदिरों में जाने के लिए आपका मजहब क्या है, जात क्या है और क्या है, ऐसा हुकूमत के मामला से कोई ताल्लुक नहीं।
In March 1949, the Assembly adopted the Objective Resolution, and in 1956, Pakistan's first constitution was elected in this chamber. For nearly a decade, this hall stood at the heart of national decision-making. In 1953, Sindh elected its 4th Provincial Assembly with 112 members. On 11th of December 1954, meeting in Hyderabad, it approved one unit scheme, merging Western provinces into West Pakistan. Legislative authority shifted to West Pakistan Assembly in Lahore. When the capital moved to Islamabad in 1959, this building lost its national role, and Sindh's parliamentary voice fell silent, until 1970 when one unit was abolished. On 2nd May 1972, the first Provincial Assembly of Sindh reconvened here, holding over 100 sittings and passing 114 bills, restoring provincial parliamentary life.
For more than 7 decades, the Sindh Assembly has been a living institution of democratic continuity and constitutional responsibility.
From the 1970s onward, the Assembly expanded in scale and complexity. In the early 2000s, under constitutional arrangements, following the legal framework order, its strength increased to 168 members, 130 general, 29 women, and 9 non-Muslims. Now anchored in Article 106 of the Constitution.
Our journey reflects resilience, democratic maturity, and enduring commitment to serving the people of Sindh.
Sindh has often led provincial reforms, including the Child Marriage Restraint Act 2013, the Domestic Violence Act of 2013, the Right to Information Act 2016, the Sindh Commission on the Status of Women Act 2015, and the Sindh Women Agriculture Workers Act 2019. This is a story of a province that evolved from colonial modernization to constitutional leadership, of a house that voted twice for Pakistan for building but between birthdays of nationalist parliament, fell silent under the one unit and found its voice again.
deeply rooted in our history and aligned with the shared Commonwealth parliamentary values. This assembly upholds exclusivity, rule of law, and representative governance.
From 60 memo house and remote halls, 160 digitally evolving legislature using e-parliament tools, solar energy, and AI-assisted research, the said assembly carries forward a living democratic legacy. A legacy rooted in history, shaped by courage, and guided by enduring promise of democracy.
It's a great honor for the city of Karachi to host the 7th CPA Asia and 2nd Joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference 2026 and to welcome distinguished parliamentarians to the historic home of the SINDH Assembly. Established in 1937, the SINDH Assembly is one of the oldest legislative institutions in the subcontinent and a house that has played a defining role in shaping constitutional thought in our region. It was in this assembly that early resolutions were adopted, giving direction to the democratic and constitutional struggle that led to the creation of Pakistan. For decades, SINDH Assembly has stood a proud symbol of representative democracy, parliamentary continuity, and respect for constitutional governance. Today, as we gather for this important conference, we reaffirm our shared commitment to democratic values, to legislative excellence, and to cooperation among parliaments across Asia and South Asia.
Ladies and gentlemen, an insightful message from the Honourable Chief Minister of Sindh for all the delegates and the heads of delegates who are present here for this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, must reiterate that Parliament is more than procedure. It is the custodian of a nation's freedom. Across the Commonwealth, legislatures are navigating an increasingly complex governance landscape. It is marked by evolving public expectations, growing political polarization, rapid technological change, climate-related pressures, and the continuing need to strengthen the meaningful participation of women, youth, and marginalized communities in democratic decision-making. As parliaments navigate these interconnected pressures, there is an urgent imperative to reimagine their role, not only as lawmaking bodies, but as institutions that actively foster trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. And that is where we see a strong role for organizations such as the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to invite the Honorable Dr. Christopher Kadila, the chairperson of the CPA Executive Committee, to address this conference.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies, for this opportunity for me to address this very important gathering this afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to everyone. May I begin first by recognizing in our midst the presence of the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of Pakistan, Sada Ayaz Sadiq. Let me also recognize the Honorable Speaker of the Sindh Legislative Assembly, that is Syed Awaz Kadashah. I also want to recognize any cabinet ministers that are in our midst this afternoon rather. May I also recognize the distinguished speakers and deputy speakers from the various parliaments and assemblies in both Southeast Asia and Asia who are here, many of whom I have met at various points and instances within our Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Colleagues and friends, it is my absolute pleasure to address you here at the opening ceremony of the 2nd CPA Joint Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference. I extend my sincere thanks to His Excellency Syed Murad Ali Shah and Honorable Speaker Syed Awaz Shah for their warm hospitality here in Sindh. Colleagues and friends, I attended the first Joint Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference, which was held in Lahore, and that was my first assignment, basically when I took over as CPA chairperson. And it is therefore a joy for me to return to this beautiful country of Pakistan and see so many familiar faces here today. I actually feel at home, to the extent that one of my colleagues said that you look so relaxed. Maybe you're not Christopher Kadila, but you are Christopher Khan. So, colleagues and friends, we gather at a time of profound change. Across Asia and Southeast Asia, societies are experiencing rapid social transformation, technological advancement, and evolving expectations from citizens, especially young people. In this context, the theme of our conference, Parliament of the Future, Redefining Democracy Through Trust, Inclusion, Innovation, and Peace, could not have been more timely or more urgent. I want to congratulate you for actually coming up with such a very, very important and appropriate theme for this conference. At the heart of democracy, as we have heard already from the Director of Ceremonies, lies trust. Trust between citizens and their institutions. Trust in the integrity of elections, the transparency of decision-making, and the accountability of those who are entrusted with power. Yet we must acknowledge, honestly and courageously, that public trust in democratic institutions is under strain in many parts of the world. Parliaments therefore carry a special responsibility, not only to legislate, but to listen, not only to govern, but to save. Where trust has been fragmented and our institutions' reliability has understandably been questioned. Rebuilding trust in our democracies therefore requires openness, it requires ethical leadership, and a renewed commitment to putting the public interest above all else. These are core tenets of the CPA and our work. Equally essential is inclusion. Parliaments of the future must truly reflect the diversity of the societies they represent. Women, young people, persons with disabilities, ethnic and religious minorities, all must see themselves not only as voters, but as active participants in democratic life.
Inclusion is not a symbolic gesture. It is a democratic necessity. That's why the CPA has long championed networks like the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, like the Commonwealth Parliamentarians with Disabilities, and the vital work they take forward in ensuring that equal inclusion and representation in democratic practices is the norm and not an afterthought. Innovation is another defining pillar of the future of Parliament. Technology has transformed how citizens communicate, how they organize and engage. Parliaments equally must not be left behind. They must keep pace, whilst also acknowledging and defending against the challenges that new technologies introduce. Digital tools offer unprecedented opportunities to enhance transparency, to improve legislative efficiency, and expand citizen engagement. But innovation is not only about technology. It is also about mindset. It is about rethinking the procedures that we undertake in our parliaments. It is about embracing evidence-based policy making and being willing to adapt traditions to meet contemporary realities, all at the same time while preserving the core values of parliamentary democracy. The CPA is here to assist our parliaments through these changes. Our work in technology and artificial intelligence continues to emphasize accessibility and resilience, ensuring that legislators in all regions, regardless of their size or resources, can benefit from technological progress whilst protecting themselves from any potential pitfalls. Finally, we must speak of peace. Very important. Parliaments are not merely law-making bodies. They are arenas for dialogue. They are arenas for compromise and the peaceful resolution of differences. Amateur to live in Parliament means alley to talk. In a world marked by conflict, polarization and misinformation, parliaments must act as guardians of democratic stability. Through respectful debate and inclusive governance, parliaments can help prevent future discord. They can promote social cohesion and foster a culture of peace within and across our Commonwealth of Nations. This week's conference, therefore, provides a unique and valuable space for frank exchange. It allows us to learn from one another's experience, to share best practice, and to reflect collectively on how we can best shape our democratic institutions to serve future generations. I encourage all participants in this week's program to engage openly and constructively and to take full advantage of the collective wisdom that I see present in this room. I therefore wish you a productive and successful conference, and once again, I thank our hosts for bringing us together here in Karachi. I also thank you for the warm hospitality accorded to myself and our Secretary General Stephen Tree to be able to be present and participate in this conference. May God bless Pakistan, may God bless this region, and may God bless the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karia, for once again reiterating the importance of representation and inclusion. Good governance today demands more than policy. It demands public trust, inclusion, and responsive leadership. In this spirit, it is a privilege to welcome once again all of you to this historic venue. I must also add that the Provincial Assembly of Sindh is one of the first legislatures of the world that actually was, it has a singular distinction of paying and recognizing the equal role of women in progress. Sipahi Sheikh Milani was elected as the first woman Deputy Speaker of the Sindh Legislative Assembly in the late 1930s. And I must also add that it goes to the credit of Sindh that it gave the world its youngest and the first woman Prime Minister of the Muslim world, Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto. A leader who is indeed cherished and remembered as a true champion of democracy, dialogue, and reconciliation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are guided by her principle and her legacy, and may I now take this opportunity to invite a senior leader, the Government of Sindh, whose commitment to strengthening institutions and public service and democratic purpose has seen no distinctions. Ladies and gentlemen, as a senior minister, he has played an important role in advancing three priorities of the Government of Sindh, working to strengthen the public delivery, institutional coordination, and citizen-focused governance. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now invite him and hear his remarks on the interconnected pillars of trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. Please join me in welcoming the Honourable Sharjeel Inam Memon, the CM Minister of the Government of Sindh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Speaker, National Assembly, Sardar Ayaz Sadiq, Honorable Speaker of Provincial Assembly of Sindh, Mr. Ravis Shah, respected Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, esteemed Mr. Christopher Khalila, Chairperson CPA, distinguished parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sindh. It is an honor to address this conference, which brings together parliamentary leaders at a time of significant global change. I thank Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and Provincial Assembly of Sindh for convening this important forum. I commend the Honourable Speaker of Sindh Assembly for leadership. Under his guidance, the Assembly has strengthened parliamentary practices and enhanced engagement with regional and international partners. Hosting the CPA conference reflects its commitment to democratic dialogue and good governance. Parliamentary democracy today faces serious challenges, including declining public trust, political polarization, digital disruption, and climate stress. In this context, the conference theme, Parliaments of the Future, redefining democracy through trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace, is both of the defining challenges of our time. Sindh remains highly vulnerable to floods, droughts, and environmental degradation, which affect the most vulnerable communities. Legislative focus increasingly recognize climate resilience as an issue of justice and human right. Innovation, which will shape the future of democracy, digital tools of parliaments, new opportunities to improve transparency, efficiency, and public engagement. SINDH has begun modernization parliamentary process with carefully considering the governance of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, in the line of democratic values. Peace. All these efforts together, parliaments must remain space for dialogue, cooperation, and consensus, parliamentary diplomacy, and regional cooperation, particularly through platforms like the CPA and essential promoting peace. This conference represents a shared commitment to democratic renewal. The Karachi Charter to be adopted at its conclusion should guide us from discussion to action. I thank the Provincial Assembly of Sindh and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association for bringing us together, and I wish the delegates a successful conference. Thank you. Pakistan Zindabad. Long live parliamentary democracy.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. As you reiterated that in an increasingly interconnected world, parliamentary diplomacy has become central to building trust, dialogue and cooperation among nations. Strong Parliament today must not only legislate, but also lead across borders and regions. We are honoured to be joined by a parliamentary leader who has played a pivotal role in laying the firm foundations of regional and international parliamentary cooperation. Under his leadership, 188 parliamentary friendship groups have been instituted with sister parliaments, significantly strengthening institutional engagement worldwide. The Honourable Sardar Ayaz Sadiq, the Speaker of the National Assembly of Pakistan, is not only the elected President of 2nd CPC, but also the founding President of the 5-member Speakers Conference for Peace and Connectivity, a platform dedicated to dialogue, stability and regional understanding. It is under his able and visionary leadership that CPA Asia has strengthened its institutional framework with the establishment of the regional headquarters of CPA Asia at the National Assembly of Pakistan, underscoring Pakistan's central role in advancing parliamentary cooperation in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great honour to invite the Honourable Sardar Ayaz Sadiq, the Honourable Speaker of the National Assembly of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, to deliver his presidential remarks.
Honourable Sayyid Awais Qadir Shah Sahab, Speaker Provincial Assembly of Sindh, host and an excellent host, and President of the 7th CPA Asia Conference, Honourable Deputy Mr. Ahmed Nizam, Deputy Speaker of the People's Majlis of Maldives and the representative of the Chairperson of the CPA Asia Executive Committee, Honourable Rizvi Saleh, Deputy Speaker of Sri Lanka, Honourable Christopher Kalale, Chairperson of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's Executive Committee, Honourable Speaker of the Provincial Assemblies of Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Punjab, Honourable Speakers of the Legislatures of Malaysia, Excellency Mr. Shajeel Inam Memon, Minister for Information, Master Answer, Province of Sindh, Excellency Mr. Stephen Quing, Secretary General of the CPA, distinguished members of Parliament from over 13 countries, MPs, MNAs, senators, ministers, dignitaries, Assalamu alaikum. Before I read out the standard speech given to me, let me share with you that the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chairman of the Senate, Speaker of the Provincial Assemblies, and including AJK and Gilgit-Baltistan, we have started meeting regularly. And the reason for that is to work closer for cooperation between our assemblies, for interprovincial harmony and coordination, for strengthening democracy, and you will be happy to know, in fact surprised to know that we had different rules. The National Assembly, the Senate, and the provincial assemblies have different rules. We have put our heads together, we've taken guidance from the provincial assemblies, and we have come to a point where most of us are now having identical rules in all our assemblies. So that shows, and it's a privilege and honor for me also to meet my honourable colleagues from all provincial assemblies, all political parties. This shows the unity what Pakistan is all about. This is unity and the strength of this country. It is indeed a privilege to address this esteemed gathering of the Commonwealth parliamentary family, united by a shared commitment to democracy, dignity and the rule of law. I am particularly delighted to know that the Provincial Assembly of Sindh is hosting this historic event. This is only the second time in the history that we are meeting in this iconic building. The real iconic building is the old one, which witnessed the birth of Pakistan in 1947. Sindh, land of culture and ideas, has long nurtured democratic values. It is no coincidence that in 1946 it elected a woman, as has been said previously, Ms. Chetibai Tulsadas, as its deputy speaker. This historic land also gave Muslim world its first democratic elected women leader, the world's youngest Prime Minister, Shahid Mohtarama Benazir Sahiba, who we all cherish and wish she was here in the Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, today we convene under the theme Parliaments of Future, redefining democracy through trust, inclusion, innovation and peace. This theme reflects not only our national aspirations, but also the collective responsibility we share to strengthen parliaments that are resilient, responsive and representative. Trust, inclusion, innovation and peace are not mere ideas. They are the foundational pillars of future ready democracies. Without trust, representation falters. Without inclusion, legitimacy erodes. Without innovation, governance stagnates. And without peace, progress is jeopardized. Distinguished guests, the Commonwealth is a young community. Over 65% of our population is under 30. Yet globally, only 2 to 3% of parliamentarians belong to this generation. This is a profound democratic deficit. It is our responsibility to bridge this gap by integrating young voices through youth advisory councils, structured internship, and dedicated youth representation in parliamentary committees. Inclusion remains the bedrock of sustainable democracy. Representation of women, minorities, marginalized communities and persons with disability is not a privilege, it is a democratic duty. Diverse parliaments craft stronger legislation and deliver governance grounded in justice, equality and dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, innovation and technology are indispensable allies of modern governance. AI-enabled legislative research, digital documentation, and e-parliament system can enhance transparency, efficiency, and public engagement. Open data governance and digital citizen platforms strengthen democratic accountability by bringing parliaments closer to people. Accountability is the cornerstone of democratic legitimacy. Effective oversight committees, empowered with research capacity, accurate data, and institutional independence ensure the government remains answerable to the people and uphold the highest standards of governance. Distinguished delegates, federalism and power sharing are crucial for unity and equitable development. Balance authority between federal and provincial ties strengthen cohesion, respects diversity, and promotes stability. Cooperative governance and interparliamentary coordination are essential tools for national harmony. Parliaments also play a crucial role in advancing peace at the regional and global level. They must champion humanitarian principles, protect political rights, and advocate for peaceful resolution. Pakistan reiterates its unwavering support for the people of India and illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whose right to self-determination is firmly rooted in the UN Security Council resolutions. Likewise, the humanitarian tragedy in Gaza calls for urgent global action based on justice, dignity, and human rights. Ethical leadership, transparency, and modernization are the hallmarks of enduring democratic institutions. Integrity in public office is non-negotiable. Transparent lawmaking, the active citizen engagement, strengthens trust and reinforces the legitimacy of the democratic system. As we look to the future, our parliaments must become more representative, more innovative, and more accountable than ever before. The trust of the people is our greatest democratic asset and must guide every policy, every reform, and every action. Let us move forward together, committed to cooperation, peace, and democratic process. Let us build parliament and inclusive technological advances ethically, grounded and dedicated to justice. It is not merely our responsibility, it is the legacy we owe to the future generations. I must also please bring to your attention that the most difficult job in Pakistan, I think, is the duty of the speakers. It is either the government criticizing for giving more time to the opposition, or the opposition claiming that they have not been given enough time. So I feel sorry for my honourable colleagues. I don't have such problems as much as most of you do, but I wish you luck and success in them. I thank you all. Pakistan Zindabad. Now, if you allow me, I will like to read out with great pleasure. I declare the 7th CPA Regional Conference open. So it opens after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for once again reiterating how important every voice is. Ladies and gentlemen, as this iconic inaugural ceremony comes to a close, may I request the distinguished chief guest and our guests on the head table to please proceed to the floor of the assembly for a group photograph. May I request the photographers to please join us at the head table, and may I request our delegates to please stay seated, as we'd love to capture a group which is going to be, of course, a wonderful memory for all. May I request Dr. Kalila to also join the Honourable Chief Guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this iconic 7th Asia Region CPA Conference is, of course, coming together. May I request one photograph, of course, of the head table, the way the photographers are taking, and post that, may I request the photographers to please join me up on stage and take our entire audience and delegates into this brilliant photograph. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honourable Chief Guest of the inauguration ceremony, His Excellency Syed Sardar Ayaz Sadiq, the Honourable Speaker of the National Assembly of Pakistan, our host and the President of the conference, Syed Awais Qadir Shah, Dr. Christopher Kalila, the Chairperson of CPA Executive Committee, and His Excellency Shajeel Namim Sahab, the Senior Minister with the Government of Sindh. And of course, we now have the entire delegation that is here from across the region joining us for the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference and the 2nd Joint CPA Asia Southeast Asia Regional Conference 2026 here in the historic city of Karachi at the Provincial Assembly of Sindh. Setting the context, of course, in this inauguration ceremony, Parliaments of the Future redefining democracy through trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. As our distinguished guests now make May I request our distinguished delegates to please stay seated. Our Honourable Chief Guest is now departing the venue with the Honourable Host and the President of the conference and Senior Minister, Mr. Shajeel Namim. May I request our participants and our delegates to stay with us. We will now proceed for lunch, and of course, as indicated in the address of the Honourable Chief Guest, the iconic old building of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh is adjacent to the new one. You're all welcome to visit it, and of course, please join us for lunch. We are going to resume with our meetings post-lunch. Thank you very much, and all the very best of luck to all our delegates and heads of missions.